Hello, my little hackmons. I just saw the Five Nights at Freddy's movie and I loved it. Here are my thoughts, and we're going to start out spoiler free. I want to preface this by saying that I am a very casual Five Nights at Freddy's fan. I didn't really grow up with it, I sort of grew up around it. Like, I was aware of its existence, but at the time, I was a little kid, I was a scaredy cat, I was too chicken to even look at anything FNAF related. But as I got a little older, I started getting into the music. I already liked The Living Tombstone, and I checked out his FNAF songs, and I'm like, wow, these songs are really edgy and cool. And then I found out who CG5 was, and then I found out who Cryfuse was, and CK9C, and all these other FNAF artists, so I was really more into the music scene. And it's so crazy to think about that this game literally spawned an entire genre of music. Then, as I got more and more into the horror genre, I actively sought out videos of people playing the game. And then I kind of had that moment where it clicked, and I'm like, hey, I actually like being jump scared. Like, the reactions I feel are very different to that of the YouTubers. Like, I get this sort of like sudden burst of joy, I'm just like, oh, that was so cool, rather than being like, ah! So yeah, I just wanted to preface this video by saying that I am by no means like a lore expert or big enthusiast of the franchise. It's something that sort of more and more progressed for me. Now, I went into this hearing very, very mixed receptions on this. On one hand, you've got the critics that absolutely hated it, but I don't take their word for anything because, one, critics are biased, two, they don't know how to just have fun while watching a movie, and three, most of them are very anti-horror. Then you've got the people that are like, oh my god, I love it, it's everything I could have asked out of Five Nights at Freddy's, and then you have people going, oh, this sucks because they messed up the lore and the canon. I don't usually let reviews get to my head before seeing a movie, but I had a very strong feeling that this was going to be a very good movie, and for me, at least, it was. The Five Nights at Freddy's movie is fun incarnate. I like to say it's like a feel-good horror movie. It's really high energy and suspenseful throughout the whole thing. Now, a huge, overwhelming complaint that I had heard from the community is that they really, really toned down the violence from the games. And at first I thought, well, that's kind of silly because you never actually see the actual act, like you just get the little pixel art. And I was also hearing that the jump scares weren't that great, which is worrying because you're literally making a movie of Jump Scare Simulator. And I was really pleasantly surprised to find out that they were kind of wrong about both things. Because of what everyone was saying about the gore, I expected at most to be a tiny little dribble of blood across the cheek. So when the gore scenes actually came, they surprised me because they show a lot more than people are giving it credit for. And the jump scares, for the most part, were pretty telegraphed, but that was the fun part. They start setting one up, and it's like, come on, come on, come on, get him, get him! You know that it's going to happen, and you're just waiting for it to happen. It really was such an enjoyable ride for me. Now for the spoiler section. Springtrap! Holy frickin' frick, you guys, Springtrap! He was so cool in this movie. I don't know, I feel like the FNAF fandom kind of worships William Afton, and I never really got the appeal of his character. I'm like, okay, so, he's just the killer who ends up masterminding everything, yada yada yada. He exists, I guess. And then this movie came along, and I'm like, okay, I get why you guys hype him up now. I think, before all the supernatural stuff goes down, I would definitely lump William Afton in with the slashers category of horror villains. And, typical slashers, usually just a normal dude, probably has like an ugly face, so he covers it with a basic mask. But this guy is in a full bunny fursuit. He is a killer bunny. You know how much I love killers and monsters with unconventional designs. And I think the actor really did a great job of just making him a creepy, slimy dude. Like, for some reason, people love to draw William Afton in fan art and fan videos as being, like, this super handsome guy for some reason. But I love this version because he's a reality check. And since we've been on the topic of Springtrap for so long, I feel like we need to bring up the giant yellow bunny in the room. That is the Springlock scene. A lot of people say they were let down by it, but I thought it was really, really good. I was expecting it to be some sort of off-screen thing or implied. So when it actually happened, I was like, oh my god! They're actually doing this! I don't think I've ever seen anything that's like super in-depth about how the Springlocks work, so I really wasn't quite sure what it would look like on screen, but the idea they came up with it is really good. It's really cool. He's just a simple knife killer that stabs people, so the Springlocks stab him back, and I think that's awesome. Most of the gore scenes were really good too. It looked realistic without being over the top. One part of the movie that I feel like no one is talking about is the Freddy mask with the gears that goes onto your face. That is such a cool concept. It's like something out of a Saw movie, but it's in Five Nights at Freddy's. I don't remember that ever being anywhere. I don't know. I heard there's a bunch of books that have a bunch of like canon things, so if that was in the books, I don't know. But it's such a great concept, and then eventually there's a shot where you get to see what people look like after they get that mask put on them, and it is crazy. Then there is the gore scene of the movie. Everyone who's even vaguely heard of Five Nights at Freddy's knows that there is a kid that gets bitten by an animatronic bear and it kills him. So when you have that lady stick her head in Freddy's mouth, we all think we know where this is going. You think, oh, is that the fight of 87? You either think, that's gonna happen, or it's gonna behead her, and so you're waiting for that. The dude snaps her in half. Yeah, it was in shadow, but that didn't make it any less shocking. That was honestly one of the coolest moments of the movie for me. It went so much further than I expected it to go. Then, the matter of the animatronics themselves. These guys are real people. They are people in suits. They are puppets. They were made by the Jim Henson Company, the guys that did the Muppets. Let that sink in. But they use real, practical effects for this movie, and it shows. And in this day and age, the fact that they chose to do that at all instead of being some sort of CGI fest is really commendable in my opinion. It really works. They really do have that jerky Disney animatronic movement to them. I also really like the way they're characterized in this movie. Yeah, they're still children, but they're also very easily manipulated by Springtrap to kill people. They're not overly friendly, they're not overly evil. It satisfies both camps. So yeah, the Five Nights at Freddy's movie, I really, really enjoyed it. It was such a fun experience.